Today on Locked On Red Wings, James Van Riemsdyk headlines Detroit signings on a quiet day one of free agency.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. And it's day one of free agency, and I think it's played out probably the way we expected. Still disappointing, but I'm going to do my best not to get overly emotional about a outcome that we knew was going to happen, especially considering, Scotty, what happened around 5 o'clock in yesterday's recording. And we are recording this just shy of 6 o'clock on Tuesday, July 1st. So if there are any couple of smaller signings that trickle in through the rest of the day, we're not going to bother to re-record. But as
we're not re-signing them.
They might as well sign me at this point with all the depth pieces they're signing. But they signed James Van Riemsdyk to a one-year, $1 million deal. They signed Jacob Bedard-Docker to a one-year $875,000. Check that for a third time. Deal.
You were just saying 8.2. I was like, holy cow, This dude got a bag.
Yeah, no. John Leonard to a one-year deal for $775,000, and Ian Mitchell to a one-year deal for $775,000. And we'll talk about each individual player. Probably the last two very briefly because they don't really impact the NHL roster all too much. But let's lead off with James Van Riemsdyk, Scotty, as that is the Red Wings' headline acquisition. A guy that the Red Wings tried to acquire a couple years ago. I don't know if you remember that. But for a second, we thought he was going to be a Detroit Red Wing at the deadline a couple years ago. But yes, James Van Riemsdyk, 1 year, $1 million. How do you feel about that acquisition, man?
Yeah, I think it's important to separate like macro from micro with these conversations, right? Like I actually like this signing a lot. Right. I think like JVR, you look at, it was pointed out by a lot of people. I know Boltman highlighted it as well, that like he would have been one of the more productive, point producers on the Wings last year. Just if you look at his season total from a year ago. So yeah, like a good addition for a great price. Like you're getting depth offense for $1 million. I mean, golly. Yeah, like obviously he's at a point in his career where he's probably not going to provide too much defensively, and you're going to want to deploy him in the offensive zone and put him in a bottom six role. But yeah, I mean, for the value you're getting him at for $1 million, I mean, heck, he might be top 6 or 7 on your team in points when it's all said and done. So I think that's like I like it a lot. It's just, again, separating macro from micro there.
36-year-old James Van Riemsdyk being in the top 10 of your point totals is a pretty sad
They tweeted out a
statement.
highlight video. Like
I know.
Dude, some of these happened when Bush was in office. Like let's maybe like calm down a little bit.
But like, no, you were 100% right. I like the JVR acquisition, and not because I think a lot of people, if you expected a big free agent signing, I don't know what to tell you, because all the big free agents returned to their teams. Brock Besser made it to free agency and still re-signed with the Vancouver Canucks. Like
everyone just went back, dude.
And the people who didn't go back already had their hearts set. Like I'm sure the Red Wings offered Gavrikov more than $7 million. I'd be shocked if they offered him less. But it was reported a week ago that he was going to head to the Rangers, and he did. It was the least surprising thing in the world. Like, the Red Wings did not have the ability. I've been saying it, right, for the last couple days, but Andy Q on Twitter shot him out. I think his analogy is better. I want Yzerman to take a swing. He said, can't expect Yzerman to take a splash when there's no water in the pool. There's no one available in free agency, stipulation there, for him to make a splash with. So he opted instead to not overpay for mediocre players like a lot of other. Ken Holland masterclass, by the way, in L.A. Dumoulin and Cody Ceci, great. Yeah, Gavrikov walking. Gavrikov may have wanted to leave. It might not have been in his control.
Corey Perry to the Kings
for $3 million. Great stuff.
Honestly, makes me
Kenny
so
Holland.
happy because the Ducks are just, those fans are just absolutely in heck. Yeah.
But anyways, I digress. to rather instead, improve on the fringes of your team with cheap depth signings. I'm not mad about any of the 4 signings to this point that Yzerman has made. James Van Riemsdyk is a good signing. Don't look at James Van Riemsdyk and think that's your top line left wing. He's not. He's probably your 3rd or 4th line left wing. And now if you're in your head, compare that to Tyler Mott, Vladimir Tarasenko, who was bad last year. That is a clear upgrade. This is a guy who is a half point per game player last year on Columbus, 36 points in 71 games played. He solves your power play 2 need in net front. He is a fantastic tipper. Like, he is great at redirecting the puck out front, so he's going to make your power play 2 better. You're not going to want to, but I also don't want to oversell it either. Like, this is an upgrade on the margins, which I know people are tired. That's what we were saying all last offseason.
Dude, we have the number 1 and 2 picks from the Patrick Kane draft. I don't really.
That's
know
also a great point. We're about to win the 2010 Stanley Cup.
Yeah, these are
fantastic.
elite players. Yes.
But as much as a good signing as this is for the contract that you signed him on, like, it doesn't move the needle. Like, there has to be more, right, Scotty? As in, like, you have over $15 million in cap space remaining. You still obviously have to sign Elmer Soderblom, who they did qualify, by the way. They did qualify Elmer Soderblom and Emil Viro. So contracts will come along the way. They did not qualify Gage Alexander or Cross Hannes, so those 2 players are basically out of the organization is what that means. But after Elmer Soderblom, you'll have like $14 million. Like, I have to imagine, and this might just be cope, but I almost have to imagine Steve understands that you have to do more this offseason, which is why I'm holding my hand away from the panic button until the end of the summer, because trades could take time. But if by the end of the summer, I reiterate from yesterday, if by the end of the summer the needle is not moved, I will probably at that point hit the panic button, because yes. Am I being nuanced enough in my evaluation? I understand free agency. This is the best you could do without overpaying for mediocre players, but I also need to see more still via trade.
Yeah, I think that's where we should be. I think that's where I am too. Mine is maybe even of a little bit more frustration because, like, I don't know, in the last 48 hours, like, other trades have happened. Now there's still people out there, and there's still good talent that's been rumored to be traded out there. Obviously, Robertson's probably like the big one, but there is still time to add. There is still time to make trades. Free agency was kind of a dud across the league, I almost want to say. Like, if you go listen to any Locked On shows outside of, like, Florida, like Vegas, maybe like the Rangers a little bit, like, outside of, the top teams that held on to their talent or that did sign and trade stuff, like, everybody's feeling this way. This was just a free agency where, as you mentioned at the beginning, no one got pride away from their team. Everybody re-signed. All the big names are just going back to where they already were. So I am frustrated, but I'm frustrated in the lack of a move period, not in the lack of, like, free agent spending specifically. I just, if this is the roster going into opening night, I think that's a joke, and I think that's pretty inexcusable, but there's still so much time left. I think I say we have to. We don't really have a choice. We will be waiting for the rest of the offseason to kind of unfold, because I think from the beginning, trade was always going to be the preferred way to improve this roster over free agency for this summer.
Yes, and JVR wasn't the only player signed that uses a acronym for his nickname. There was also a guy who goes by JBD who was signed to a contract by the Detroit Red Wings. And we'll talk about him as well as the other 2 players signed today in segment 2 of Locked On Red Wings. Stay tuned. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast. All right, Scotty. Another player the Red Wings signed who may impact, now we are into the mays, may have an impact on the NHL roster is Jared Bernard-Docker. He was signed to a one-year deal by the Detroit Red Wings at an $875,000 cap hit. He was a first-round pick, 26th overall, by the Ottawa Senators in 2018, but has kind of struggled to establish himself as an everyday NHLer. Was dealt to to Buffalo in the Dylan Cousins trade last year around the time of the deadline. He's a right shot D-man, 6 foot. This is a guy I'm probably projecting as either your 6th or 7th D-man for the Detroit Red Wings right now.
Oh, the Pistons actually woke up. That's nice. There's one. I think Duncan Robinson just signed with the Pistons.
I don't.
Yeah, I know. Look, like I think that in terms of depth defenseman, you can do a lot worse. And I think he is still young enough to where, like, if you were to take a chance on somebody on a cheap deal and see if they could maybe blossom into something, it would probably be here. He's only really been an everyday NHLer in 1 year of his career. That was when he was 23 years old in the 23-24 season for Ottawa. And had 14 points in 72 games. Like, not an offensive producer, certainly, but if he can take some strides forward and presumably with maybe a little bit of playing time, I don't know. We'll see. I think that, again, from the perspective of, like, his birthday was June 30th. Wow, he just turned 25. From the perspective of the Wings taking a chance of improvement on a right shot defenseman, they certainly could do a lot worse. Yeah.
Sorry, the return for the Keandre Miller trade just dropped, so we'll talk about that in a second. I was just pulling it up for you. I think that this is a guy, Scotty, and I apologize if I'm repeating what you said because, again, I saw the news and I was pulling it up. He does, in his analytics, his underlying numbers look good in a very sheltered role with the teams he's been with. Third pair minutes, sheltered, he's been effective in that role. But the problem is when you try to push him above sheltered is when you have issues. But I don't have a problem taking a very cheap flyer on a guy who maybe has a little bit more to him. He's only 25 years old. Worst case scenario is it doesn't work out. The year goes on and he's gone. The issue I really have with this, though, is you already have Justin Holl in that extremely sheltered third pair role. Did we really need two of those guys? Because you refused to buy Justin Holl out. So it just one of those two is going to be the 7th D-man. You just have a guy there. But I don't know what else there is more to be said about Jacob Bedard-Docker. It's just that is his profile. He is a 6th or 7th D-man who's going to play a sheltered role when he does play. If he's with the Red Wings. I'm not completely sold he will be.
We don't even know, honestly.
But he could be because right now they lack a 7th D-man, and it could be Wallinder getting a promotion. I'm not confident it's ASP. It could be, I guess it could be Ian Mitchell, who they signed, right shot defenseman, 6 foot, from the Boston Bruins to a league minimum contract, $775,000. I thought that was going to be a two-way contract. It was not. This is also a young guy. He's 26 years old. He played 15 games with the Bruins last year, only had registered 1 point, played 13 the year before. He's never played a full NHL season. He's been around in the NHL since 2021. To me, this just screams just another like William Lagesson type. He's going to play mostly with the Grand Rapids, and you're going to call him up if an injury occurs. Another right shot, by the way.
Yeah, which I feel like is pretty intentional. Yeah, another depth defenseman. I don't have too much to add, to be honest with you. Not gonna provide too much offense. Hopefully, is somebody that doesn't draw attention defensively.
Right. The other guy they signed, John Leonard, can play left wing or right wing, $775,000 contract. 190 pounds, 5'11". Didn't play in the league this year. Played 6 games with the Coyotes in 2024. One of those games was against the Red Wings, by the way, because when I was looking up photos of John Leonard for the graphic, it was against the Red Wings at LCA. So a little fun fact for you there. But played all of last season with Charlotte, I think it was, the Charlotte Checkers. Again, AHL depth.
Agreed. Yeah. If you're an injury or two down in the forward group, you'll probably see him this year.
Every single one of these trades, is inoffensive, doesn't make you worse, makes you better along the fringes. It's not enough, right, Scotty? Because you look at this roster right now and you slot JVR on your third line and you slot JBD on the third pair or as the 7th D-man, you still have glaring holes. You don't have a left wing. And that's the biggest one to me. It's you can cobble together an ineffective defensive core, but you legit don't have an answer on your top line left wing unless you. The only thing in my head is if they put Casper back there on top line left wing and get a Cop back there on the second line center. Because again, we go back to the fact that Cop played much better as second line center when McClellan was here before his injury. Because I don't know what other answers you have for the top 6. And that's why, they have to, in my eyes, they have got to make a trade for somebody. Because you're not getting Ehlers. I'm sorry. I know Ehlers is still available, but I highly doubt you're getting Ehlers when 3/4 of the league is going to be in on this one guy who's available. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the Red Wings can do right now. I know what I want the Red Wings to do, but I mean, it's Brian Rust, it's Richard Raquel, it's Bowen Byram, it's Jason Robertson, it's Marco Rossi. Those are your trade options right now. So I don't know, man. Their signings are inoffensive right now, but Yzerman's going to have to pull something out of his butt here.
Right. They haven't. That's the thing is they haven't made an incorrect move. They haven't done anything wrong. They just haven't done anything super right yet. So we're all just kind of waiting. Yeah. And it's just, I think it's fuel to the fire when, people that the Wings were rumored to be in on then get, obviously Miller is the big one, right? Wings are in on him. Oh, it looks like it's going to happen. Okay, he's going to Carolina. We're just waiting. We're just waiting. And it is unfair for me or us to be this sucks or this off season is we're a day in, right? Who knows? But free agency, certainly a dud.
Yes, and Scotty, we did also just learn, as I made you aware a couple minutes ago, that Keandre Miller trade is now finalized, and we know exactly what was dealt to the Rangers from Carolina, and it did not make me feel any better because I feel as if I would have just matched that, but we'll talk about that in segment 3, of Lockdown Red Wings. So one of the big areas we keep talking about, Scotty, right, with the Detroit Red Wings is the most likely path to improvement is through trade. Well, Keandre Miller was rumored to be on the Red Wings' radar for weeks now, honestly. And it felt like for a while, and this is partly my own fault, it felt like for a while that it was just a matter of time until it got done. Well, about 20 minutes after the Rangers signed Gavrikov, everyone's going, what's going to happen with Keandre Miller? And then, bang, he's being traded to Carolina. And all of the energy got sucked right out of me. Because now Keandre Miller, I don't want to make it out to be like Keandre Miller is Cale Makar, right? Or even his teammate, Adam Fox. He is not some world beater. But he would be a very solid second-pair defenseman on the Detroit Red Wings. He would solve that question for them. Again, second-pair defenseman. Not some incredible player, but he is a very good player. And it would have been a huge upgrade to this roster, no?
It
Yes.
certainly would have, yes.
Okay. Well, this whole day I've been wondering, what is the return on this? Because we had to wait until they agreed upon, it was a sign and trade, agreed upon the contract to know what the return is. Well, the contract was 8 years, $7.5 million, a little rich, but if you were the Red Wings and you need to take a swing on somebody to help solidify your roster, you do that, right? If you're going to be team swing, sometimes you got to swing.
Desperately need blue line help, yeah.
Right. The return, I was just assuming would be something ridiculous. I don't think this is something, I think this is something I would have done. Scott Morrow, age 22, defenseman. He's in the final year of his 3-year contract, entry-level contract, I believe. I just looked at his stats. He played 14 games this year. He played like 15 the year before that with the Carolina. It's just 2, but the year before that with the Carolina Hurricanes. He projects to be a third-pair right-side D-man. Okay, 22 years old. A conditional first-round pick. It is going to be the better of Carolina or Dallas's 2026 first-round pick because Carolina has 2. And a second-round pick. So a first, a second, and a third-pairing defenseman. Would you have not done that, just swapping out Morrow for like Albert Johansson? I feel like I would easily have done that.
I agree.
Okay. I wanted to withhold judgment on this trade until I learned the return, and now that I have, I can say confidently this feels like a miss by Steve Yzerman. Yes, the contract is a little rich for me, but if I cannot sit in this position and say, be team, take a swing, and then, oh, that's a little too rich for me. I can't. He would have moved the needle for this team because I said it yesterday's episode. He makes the Red Wings better at 3 different positions, 3 different roster spots. He becomes your left side D-man on pair 2. He gives you Edvinsson on pair 1, and he moves Sherratt down to pair 3. Because you did not, and I don't know what Yzerman offered. I don't. But because you could not match that, which I thought was fine, because you did not match that, now you're left with Jacob Bernard-Docker instead. I didn't crucify Yzerman over the Dobson trade because it didn't feel like he was really in it, but I felt like this is a very attainable trade for Keandre Miller.
I agree, and I also think that it's attainable, and it does not like handicap you from making more moves on top of it. Like it's again $7.5 million. That's not nothing, but that's not okay. Like there's our one move. That's it either. Like you can do that and add on to that. Yeah, man.
By the way, Evolving Hockey contract projection had his 8-year deal at 7.8. So it actually comes in less than Evolving Hockey's contract projection for an 8-year deal. So they're banking a little bit on him continuing to get better. But like, I would have done that in a heartbeat. I don't know why. I don't know how he missed. I don't know how they traded him in division, Scotty. In division.
Him more so than probably anybody else on Tuesday because that's the only team that you heard linked to him was Detroit. The only team. All the rumors were, and maybe that's like my own timeline feeding me what I want to see, but like every rumor I saw was like, Miller in Detroit, Miller in Detroit, Miller in Detroit, and then the notification said Miller to Carolina. I went, okay, well, that so much for that, I guess.
And maybe Keandre's an RFA said I'll only sign an extension with Carolina in this instance, and that is what happened. We don't know, but I feel like if I had the opportunity to counteroffer that or match that, I would have done it. But I don't know the ins and outs. All I know is I'm pretty disappointed that did not go Detroit's way. Because that's one more. You already missed on Paterka, and I know the Red Wings, again, didn't have what the Buffalo Sabres wanted. And the same thing with Dobson. You didn't have what the Islanders wanted. But this one, it felt like you had the pieces to get this done, and it's disappointing that it did not happen. And now your trade market is what? You have Brian Rust, can you believe he's like 34 already, which is insane. Yeah. I remember that 15-16 season like yesterday. I'm still living in it personally, which is why I can't believe he's already 33 years old. But, I mean, if you trade for him, maybe he'll come at a cheaper price because of the fact that he is 33 years old, but he's also got 3 years left on his deal and has 65 points in 71 games this last year. You got Richard Raquel. You got Bowen Byram. You have Robertson, question mark. I know Jim Nails pulled back on the idea of him being dealt, which I always felt like that was a long shot. And you have Marco Rossi, who I think Guerin has also pulled back on the idea of him being dealt. So your options are dwindling on the trade market. And I need Steve. For me personally, as a Steve Yzerman fan, like, he's got to move the needle this summer some way. There's a lot of time left, and I'm giving him to the end of summer before I hit that panic button. But if he does not, my tone will shift. My tone has to shift, because we can't have 2 consecutive steps back, or we're going to be sitting here looking like the Minnesota Wild of the 2010s, where we're a pretty decent team, but we never make the playoffs.
I agree.
And the final dagger that was our day is the knowledge that, as we sat here before we started recording, the knowledge that Alex Delvecchio, Detroit Red Wings legend, played 24 seasons with Detroit from the 50s all the way through into the 70s, part of the production line, passed away at 93 years old. 93 years old. He lived a long and fulfilled life. He was active in the community for a long time afterwards. It's rest in peace, man. It sucks. It sucks that another legend passed, but I take a slim silver lining that he was able to live a long, fulfilled life up to 93 years old.
For sure, yeah. No, it's super sad. Rest in peace, obviously. And I think looking ahead, like, it's so nice to know that family will be part of the community and part of, like, kind of ingrained within the city forever, right? What a fantastic player, obviously, but a guy that has impacted the area off the ice in a lot of ways as well. So I think it's reassuring to know that the family will continue on and kind of forever be a part of the makeup of this city. Obviously, one of the greatest hockey players and greatest Detroit Red Wings to ever lace him up. So
over 1,200 points in over 1,500 games played in the NHL, 3-time Lady Byng winner, 2-time All-Star, 3-time Stanley Cup winner with the Detroit Red Wings, 52, 54, and 55, I believe. Someone double fact-checked me on that one. And part of course, the NHL's top 100 they did back in, 2018. So, absolute legend on and off the ice, superb human being, passes away at 93, and we wish his family nothing but the best through this troubling time.
For sure. Absolutely.
Scotty, do you have any final thoughts?
I don't think so, man. Yeah, I mean, we'll keep an eye on everything, like that's all we can kind of do is sit and wait on the trade market and see how that develops. And yeah, we'll be here every day this week talking about
every day next week too.
Yeah,
every day next week too. So
we'll see.
Hoping a trade comes down at some point this summer. That's where I'm at. I'm hoping. So
same.
Stay tuned for more free agency breakdown on future episodes. Same time, same place, your team
every day.
Every day.